sit down. You're waking babies, motherfucker.
Do we have a problem? Huh?
It's been nearly 3 decades since Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood hit theaters in 1996, delivering some of the wildest, most outrageous parodies of 90s hood films. From Lock Dog's ridiculous braids to Grandma packing heat, this cult classic gave us some of the most unforgettable characters in comedy history. But what happened to the actors behind these iconic roles? What do they look like now? And which stars' journeys took the most unexpected turns? Grab your 40 ounces of Kool-Aid, sit back, and let's check in on the cast of Don't Be a Menace, where they are now, what they've been up to, and the shocking changes you never saw coming. Shawn Wayans as Ashtray. Ashtray was the classic good kid in a bad neighborhood trope, except in Don't Be a Menace, nothing was that simple. A parody of Trey Styles from Boys in the Hood, even his name was a joke, turning Trey into Ashtray. Because why not? From the moment he arrived in South Central, the chaos never stopped. His dad looked younger than him. His grandma smoked more weed than a Snoop Dogg tour bus, but could still throw hands better than most gangsters. And his cousin, Lock Dog? That man carried a rocket launcher like it was a set of car keys. Ashtray tried to be the responsible one, the level-headed guy who just wanted to make the right choices. But when your dad, who looks 18, is giving you life lessons over a 40-ounce and your grandma is knocking people out mid-joint, staying sane isn't exactly easy. At just 25, Shawn Wayans played the role with a straight face, which made the madness around him even funnier. His ability to sell every ridiculous situation as if it were normal was part of what made Don't Be a Menace so iconic. Now 54, Shawn has largely stepped away from the spotlight, which only adds to his mystique. Born into the legendary Wayans family as the 9th of 10 siblings, he was raised in a household full of comedic brilliance. His family, led by his mother Elvira and father Howell Wayans, fostered an environment where creativity and humor thrived. When it comes to his personal life, Shawn has always been private, keeping his family out of the Hollywood glare. He's a devoted father, reportedly raising 3 children, and has focused much of his time on them. Unlike some of his siblings, he's never been one to chase the limelight, preferring to let his work speak for itself. Despite his more private lifestyle, Shawn's influence on black comedy is undeniable. From In Living Color to Scary Movie and White Chicks, he helped redefine satire and push boundaries in comedy. Even if he never steps back into Hollywood, his legacy is already set in stone. Viva A Fox as Ashtray's mother. Played by the legendary Viva A Fox, Ashtray's mom was a hilarious parody of Reva Styles from Boys and the Hood. Remember how Trey's mom sent him to live with his father because she believed a man should raise a man? Well, Don't Be a Menace took that idea and turned the absurdity all the way up. Ashtray's mom also believed she couldn't teach her son how to be a man, so she sent him to live with his dad. The only issue? His father looked younger than him. Seriously, how does that even work? Viva played the role with her signature sass, delivering her lines completely straight, which made it even funnier. By the time she did this film, she was already a rising star in Hollywood. At 32, she had built an impressive resume, starring in classics like Set It Off, 1996, Soul Food, 1997, and Booty Call, 1997. Whether she was robbing banks, holding a family together, or delivering sharp comedic timing, Viva always brought her undeniable energy. Now 60, she's still out here doing her thing, staying booked and busy in both TV and film. Viva's personal life has had its share of ups and downs. She married singer Christopher 6ix9ine Harvest in December 1998, but the couple divorced in 2002. The following year, she had a brief but highly publicized relationship with rapper 50 Cent. In 2010, she got engaged to club promoter Omar Slim White, but they called it off after 10 months. While she never had children of her own, She has spoken openly about her love for kids and how she cherishes her role as an aunt and mentor. Beyond acting, Vivica has continued to make an impact. In November 2020, she was inducted as an honorary member of the Zeta Phi Beta sorority, joining a legacy of powerful women in leadership and service. From Hollywood to philanthropy, Viva A Fox remains a force to be reckoned with, Marlin Wayans as Lock Dog. Where do we even start with this guy? First off, his name alone was a joke. Lock Dog, a hilarious parody of O-Dog from Menace 2 Society. But while O-Dog was terrifying, Lock Dog was, well, a different kind of dangerous. This man turned condoms into a fashion statement, rocking them on his braids like he was setting a new trend. And his weapon collection? Absolutely ridiculous. While most gangsters carry a pistol, Lock Dog had a rocket launcher, a missile, and probably a nuclear bomb stashed somewhere in his sock drawer, because why not? One of his most legendary moments? That scene where he stood up for his cousin Ashtray, mirroring Ice Cube's iconic moment in Boys and the Hood. Just like Doughboy, he pulled up with the squad, ready for war. The only problem? Lock Dog wasn't exactly the most stable guy. You never knew if he was going to save the day or accidentally blow himself up. At just 24, Marlin Wayans played the role like he was born for it. And maybe that's because, as the youngest of the 10 Wayans siblings, comedy was already in his DNA. He went on to give us classics like White Chicks, Little Man, and the Scary Movie franchise. On TV, he made his mark with the Wayans Bros and In Living Color. Even today, Marlin is still out here dominating comedy. Marlin's personal life has been just as interesting as his career. He was in a long-term relationship with Angela Zachary from 1992 to 2013, and though he once referred to her as his ex-wife, he later clarified that he never actually married. The two share 2 children, one of whom is transgender. In 2023, Marlin publicly expressed his full support for his trans son and the LGBTQ+ community, showing once again that his love for his kids is unconditional. He also has a child with former girlfriend Brittany Moreland. Beyond family, Marlin had strong friendships with some major names. He was a close friend of rapper Tupac Shakur, and he's had a long-time bond with actor Omar Epps. Through it all, Marlin has stayed true to himself, balancing comedy, fatherhood, and his personal values with effortless charm. Helen Martin as Grandma. If there was one character in Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood that completely stole the show, it was Grandma. Played by the legendary Helen Martin, she looked like your typical sweet church-going old lady, gray hair, floral dresses, and a warm smile. But don't let that fool you. This woman was not to be messed with. Grandma could outsmoke Wiz Khalifa and still have the sharpest aim in the hood. One minute she'd be knitting or sipping tea, and the next, she'd be cussing someone out, smacking a fool upside the head, or pulling out a gun like it was just another accessory in her purse. And let's not forget her most iconic moment, swooping in at the end to save the day. Turns out, while everyone else was running wild, she was the one who had it all under control. Long before Don't Be a Menace, Helen Martin had already cemented her status in black television and film. She was best known for playing Weeping Wanda on Good Times and the no-nonsense Pearl Shea on 227, bringing that same hilarious, sharp-tongued energy to every role she touched. She had a gift for playing wise, tough, and brutally honest elderly women who weren't afraid to speak their minds. And Grandma was no exception. Sadly, Helen Martin passed away from a heart attack on March 25, 2000, at the age of 90 in Monterey, California. But her legacy? Untouchable. She gave us some of the funniest, most iconic old lady characters in TV and film history. And thanks to Don't Be a Menace, we'll always remember that sometimes the most dangerous person in the hood is Grandma. Chris Spencer as Preach. In Don't Be a Menace to South Central. While drinking your juice in the hood, Preach was that ultra-woke, pro-black warrior. Well, at least in theory. Played by 28-year-old Chris Spencer, Preach was a parody of Sharif from Menace 2 Society, the deeply religious, reformed Muslim character who tried to guide his friends toward a righteous path. But Don't Be a Menace took that archetype and flipped it into one of the funniest contradictions in the movie. Preach was always dropping knowledge, ranting about black oppression, unity, and the struggle. The man could turn anything into a lesson about the system. But the punchline? For all his militant speeches, he was dating a white woman. One minute, he'd be passionately shouting, "The black man must stick together." The next, he'd be running straight into his white girlfriend's arms. It was that absurd contradiction that made Preach one of the film's most unforgettable characters. Chris Spencer played the role to perfection, mixing serious delivery with straight-up comedy gold. He had that natural ability to make even the most over-the-top moments feel real, which is why Preach still stands out decades later. Chris Spencer was already making waves in Hollywood when he took on the role of Preach, but his career didn't stop there. Now 57, the Jamaican-American comedian has built an impressive legacy, not just in front of the camera, but behind the scenes as well. He's worked with some of the biggest names in comedy, collaborating with the Wayans family, Jamie Foxx, and even helping Nick Cannon create Wild 'N Out. As a stand-up comedian, he's toured the country and performed on The Chris Rock Show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Def Comedy Jam. Outside of entertainment, Spencer keeps his personal life pretty private. He was born and raised in Los Angeles, where he still lives today with his wife, Vanessa Spencer, and their 2 children. He's also a UCLA alum, so comedy isn't the only thing he's got going for him, but for fans of Don't Be a Menace, Chris Spencer will always be that guy, the woke brother with a whole lot to say, even if he didn't always practice what he preached. Sulie McCulla as Crazy Legs. If you've seen Don't Be a Menace, then you definitely remember Crazy Legs. Played by Sulie McCulla, he was one of the film's most hilarious and unexpectedly uplifting characters. At first you might wonder why he's in a wheelchair, but then it clicks. He's a parody of Lil Chris from Boys in the Hood. But Crazy Legs wasn't about sitting still. In fact, he was the most hype guy in the room. The man loved to dance, and that's what made him so unforgettable. One minute he's chilling, the next he's hitting moves like he's auditioning for Soul Train. It was over the top, completely unexpected, and honestly kind of inspiring. What made the character work wasn't just the physical comedy, it was the message underneath. Crazy Legs was the guy who refused to let anything hold him back. Sulie McCulla, just 28 at the time, played him with the perfect mix of energy, charm, and comedic timing. He didn't just make people laugh, he made Crazy Legs someone you couldn't help but root for. Sulie McCulla's comedy career didn't stop with Don't Be a Menace. After the film, he went on to star in The Jamie Foxx Show and even popped up in Scary Movie 2, continuing his run in classic comedy. But he didn't just stay in front of the camera. McCulla also made a name for himself behind the scenes as a writer. He's worked on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, the ESPY Awards, and even helped write material for big names like Kevin Hart and Chris Rock. Now 57, McCulla is still going strong in the entertainment industry. While he's had a long and successful career, for many fans, he'll always be Crazy Legs, the guy who turned a wheelchair into a dance floor and reminded everyone that no matter what life throws at you, you can still break it down. Kenan Ivory Wayans as the Mailman. Kenan Ivory Wayans' role as the Mailman in Don't Be a Menace to South Central. While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood is a perfect example of the film's mix of absurd comedy and unexpected depth. Every time Ashtray tried to drop some serious life advice, you could count on the Mailman to pop up out of nowhere, stick his head in, and hit you with his signature line, "Message." It was ridiculous but genius. Just like a real mailman hands out letters, Kenan's character delivered unexpected moments of truth, whether people were ready for them or not. It was a hilarious way to poke fun at how even the silliest films can sneak in something real. One minute, Ashtray is giving Desi's son some heartfelt wisdom, and the next, the Mailman is right there to drive the point home. It was almost like life itself was reminding everyone that comedy often carries deeper meaning. At 38, Kenan wasn't just playing a random character, he was already a major force in comedy. As the oldest of the Wayans siblings, he paved the way for his family, guiding Kim, Shawn, and Marlin toward Hollywood success. But his impact goes way beyond acting. Kenan is the mastermind behind In Living Color, the legendary sketch comedy show that launched the careers of stars like Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx, and Jennifer Lopez. Outside of his career, Kenan's personal life has had its ups and downs. He married Daphne Polk in 2001, but their marriage ended in divorce in 2006. Despite the split, he has remained focused on his career, continuing to shape the world of comedy and entertainment. Now at 66, Kenan is still a powerhouse in Hollywood. Whether he's producing, writing, or directing, his fingerprints are all over modern comedy. But for Don't Be a Menace fans, he'll always be the mailman, the guy who popped in at just the right time to remind us that even in the middle of all the chaos, there's always a message. Antonio Fargus as Old School. Antonio Fargus's character, Old School, is one of the most unforgettable parts of Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. He's the ultimate OG, the guy who's seen it all, survived the Watts riots, lived through gang wars, and carries the kind of street cred that demands respect. So naturally, when Lock Dog and his crew need some serious backup, they turn to Old School, expecting him to come through like the legendary figure he is. But in true Don't Be a Menace fashion, there's a twist. Old School can't help them. Why? Because he's grounded. By his mama. Yeah, you heard that right. A grown man, a certified OG, still answering to his mother. And that's what made it so hilarious. Here's a guy who's faced all kinds of danger, but the one thing that still has him shook? His mom. If that's not a metaphor for life, I don't know what is. By the time he played Old School at 50, Antonio Fargus was already a legend. Older generations know him as Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch or from classic blaxploitation films like Foxy Brown, 1974, and I'm Gonna Get You Sucka. His signature style, swagger, and comedic timing made him a household name. For younger audiences, he brought that same energy to shows like Everybody Hates Chris, proving that no matter the decade, Antonio Fargus always delivers. Outside of Hollywood, Fargus has built a strong family legacy. His son, Justin Fargus, followed a different path, making a name for himself in football. A USC alumnus, Justin played 7 seasons in the NFL as a running back for the Oakland Raiders, racking up over 3,000 rushing yards in his career. The athletic streak runs deep in the family. Antonio's daughter-in-law, Nikki Caldwell, is the president of the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA. Now at 78, Antonio Fargus remains a beloved figure in the industry. Whether he's playing a smooth-talking hustler, a streetwise mentor, or an OG still afraid of his mama, one thing's for sure, Fargus always brings something unforgettable to the screen. Lwanda Paige as Old School's mom. In Don't Be a Menace, Lwanda Paige delivers one of the film's most hilarious and unexpected moments. She plays Old School's mom, and when she shows up, she's not there to play. She's there to remind him who's really in charge. Storming in with that signature no-nonsense attitude, she lays down the law. Go to your room and clean it. 10 minutes. Just like that, the ultimate OG is put in his place, proving that no matter how tough you think you are, Mom always has the final say. It's the kind of absurd humor that Don't Be a Menace does so well, flipping expectations and turning even the hardest characters into punchlines. Because let's be real, tough love from a black mama can feel more like a military drill than a request, and Lwanda Paige plays it to perfection. Long before Don't Be a Menace, Lwanda Paige had already cemented herself as a comedy icon. She's best known as Aunt Esther from Sanford and Son, where her quick wit, sharp tongue, and Bible-thumping one-liners made her a fan favorite. Over her 6-decade career, she worked in both stand-up and film, earning the title the Black Queen of Comedy. She even had a memorable role in the 1995 classic Friday. Beyond the spotlight, Lwanda Paige had a life filled with love, loss, and deep faith. She was married 3 times, but after losing her 3rd husband in her 30s, she decided never to remarry. Her first marriage was to John Peel in 1934, when she was just 14 years old. Tragically, their infant son passed away in 1935, but she later had a daughter, Clara, who became an evangelist preacher. Lwanda herself was deeply religious. She was affiliated with the Landmark Community Church when she first moved to Los Angeles, and in 1981, she became an evangelist in the Holiness Church. Her faith was an important part of her life, grounding her through the ups and downs of show business. Sadly, Lwanda Paige passed away on September 14, 2002, at the age of 81 from a heart attack following complications from diabetes. She was laid to rest at Inglewood Park Cemetery in California. Her daughter, Clara Estella Roberta Johnson, passed away in 2006 at the age of 69. Though she is gone, her legacy lives on. Rest in peace to a true queen of comedy, Lamar Tate as Ashtrays' father. Lamar Tate as Ashtrays' father. Now that's one of the funniest running gags in Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. You remember how in Boys and the Hood, Trey's mom sent him to live with his dad so he could learn how to be a man? Well, Don't Be a Menace takes that whole concept and flips it on its head. Ashtray's dad is supposed to be the wise, life lesson-giving father figure. But here's the twist. He's actually younger than Ashtray. Lamar Tate plays the role with a straight face, handing out fatherly advice like he's some old-school mentor, all while rocking a backward cap and looking like he should be asking Ashtray for lunch money instead of guiding him through life. The absurdity reaches its peak when Ashtray tucks his own dad into bed and reads him a bedtime story, because, you know, that's totally how parenting works. At the time, Lamar Tate was 36, and now at 55, he's still making moves in the industry. He's had some memorable roles in Jason's Lyric, 1994, and Barbershop, 2002, showing off his versatility beyond just comedy. Of course, his brother Lorenz Tate might be the one who gets the most attention, especially for his legendary role as O-Dog in Menace 2 Society, but Lamar has built a solid career of his own. These days, he's been working more behind the scenes, producing and developing projects while staying close to his brother. But for anyone who grew up on Don't Be a Menace, he'll always be remembered as the world's youngest dad, getting parenting advice from his own kid. Tracy Charelle Jones as Dashiki. Where do we even begin with Dashiki? From the moment she introduced herself, "Hello, my name is Dashiki. That's Swahili for doggy style." You just knew Ashtray never stood a chance. Played by the effortlessly stunning Tracy Charelle Jones, Dashiki was every stereotype wrapped into one, gorgeous, unpredictable, and apparently raising an entire basketball team worth of kids. The film even joked that she had more kids than Miss Wayans. Technically, she was Toothpick's girl, but let's be real. Loyalty wasn't exactly her strong suit. The second Ashtray came into the picture, she flipped on Toothpick faster than a mattress at a cheap motel. And in true Don't Be a Menace fashion, after just 30 seconds with Ashtray, she hit him with the infamous line, "I'm pregnant." That might be the fastest conception in movie history. By the time Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood hit theaters, Tracy Charelle Jones was already a familiar face in black films and TV. She had roles in The Players Club, 1998, Baby Boy, 2001, and Players Ball, 2003, proving she had the looks, the comedic timing, and the on-screen presence to become a household name. But somewhere along the way, she stepped back from Hollywood. At 36, she was stealing scenes like Dashiki Stole Hearts. Now at 55, she may have left the limelight, but for fans of Don't Be a Menace, she'll always be remembered as the woman who turned a 30-second romance into a lifetime commitment. Isaiah Barnes as Dorag. If Menace 2 Society had Anthony, then Don't Be a Menace had Dorag, a whole menace in training with a bedtime. This kid wasn't just Ashtrays' oldest son. He was running the crib like a pint-sized OG. While his 6 siblings were just background noise, Dorag actually had lines. And when he spoke, he made it clear. He wasn't the one to play with. The most iconic moment? Dorag didn't throw tantrums. He didn't cry. He didn't even break controllers. Instead, when Ashtray beat him in a video game, he pulled a gun on him. That's right, straight to the strap. And just when it seems like things are about to spiral into Menace 2 Society, the kindergarten years, Dorag calmly explains, "I learned it from cartoons and hood movies." That one line was the perfect punchline, mocking how over-the-top hood movies made it seem like even little kids were raised on the Glock like it came in a Happy Meal. At just 7 years old, Isaiah Barnes stole every scene he was in, delivering a performance that was hilarious and straight-up cold-blooded. But unlike some child actors, he didn't stick around in Hollywood. Now 36, he's built a career as an entrepreneur, only occasionally popping up in local indie films to remind us that he still has that on-screen magic. But fans can't help but wonder, will he ever make a full comeback? Because let's be real, if he could steal a whole scene at 7, imagine what he could do now. Daryl Heath as Toothpick. Don't Be a Menace to South Central. While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood had plenty of wild characters, but Toothpick, played by 27-year-old Daryl Heath, took pettiness to another level. Fresh out of prison and mad at the world, Toothpick was the ultimate bitter ex, ready to start a whole war because Ashtray was with Dashiki. He wasn't just salty, he was straight-up unhinged. Toothpick was a spot-on spoof of that one guy who comes home from a bid thinking he still runs the block, even though nobody is checking for him anymore. Daryl Heath played it flawlessly, balancing crazy, clueless, and just enough menace to make Toothpick unforgettable. After Don't Be a Menace, Heath disappeared from the industry. Some believe he was blacklisted, while others think he simply walked away from Hollywood. Whatever the reason, his impact as Toothpick still lives on. And fans are still left wondering, what really happened to Daryl Heath, Bernie Mack as Officer SelfHatred? If you've seen Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood, you definitely remember that line. It was delivered by the late, great Bernie Mack, who played Officer SelfHatred, a hilariously over-the-top caricature of self-loathing black cops. Bernie Mack took inspiration from Officer Coffee in Boys in the Hood and turned it all the way up. In the scene, Officer SelfHatred pulls over Ashtray and Lock Dog, but instead of just harassing them, he goes on a wild rant about everything he supposedly hates about black people. From the back of Forrest Whitaker's neck to Whoopi Goldberg's lips, ending with the now iconic line, "I hate that black-ass Wesley Snipes." It was peak Bernie Mack, his signature style of loud, unfiltered comedy mixed with sharp social commentary. The scene wasn't just funny, it was a satirical take on internalized racism, making it one of the most memorable moments in the film. At 39 years old, Bernie Mack was already a star in the comedy world, known for stealing scenes in movies like Friday and The Players Club. But his biggest mainstream success came later, with The Bernie Mac Show, where he showcased his larger-than-life personality and comedic genius. Off-screen, Bernie Mac's real life was nothing like his loud-mouthed characters. He was deeply devoted to his high school sweetheart, Rhonda Gore, whom he married in 1977. The couple welcomed their daughter in 1978. And through all the ups and downs of the entertainment business, Rhonda remained by his side. Despite his larger-than-life presence, Bernie Mac faced serious health struggles. For 20 years, he battled sarcoidosis, a rare inflammatory disease that affected his lungs. On July 19, 2008, he was admitted to Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago due to complications from pneumonia. After spending 3 weeks in the ICU, he went into cardiac arrest and passed away on August 9, 2008, at just 50 years old. His final films, Madagascar, Escape 2, Africa and Soul Men were released posthumously and dedicated to his memory. Bernie Mac's impact on comedy can't be overstated. He brought raw humor, realness, and unmatched energy to every role, and even in a short cameo like Officer SelfHatred, he made an unforgettable mark. Though he's gone, his comedy lives on. And for those of us who grew up on Don't Be a Menace, we'll never forget that scene, or that one-liner about Wesley Snipes. Rest in power, Bernie Mac. And that's the wrap-up for this video. Which Don't Be a Menace character was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. And if you love keeping up with classic films and their stars, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more. See you next time.